The sun beat down on the cracked concrete of the old sports camp, a neutral zone awkwardly nestled between the territories of the Ashari and the Balani. It was supposed to symbolize peace, but everyone knew it was just a forgotten space where decades of animosity were expected to dissolve in a matter of weeks. The volleyball net sagged slightly in the middle, an apt metaphor for the strained unity the camp hoped to inspire. Wasi adjusted his wristband, scanning the dusty court with silent precision. He moved like someone used to discipline. Every step measured, every breath quiet. Raised in an Ashari household where pride and tradition outweighed personal desire, he had no choice but to obey when his father told him to attend the peace camp. Play well, but don't trust them, his father had warned. Wasi had nodded, not because he agreed, but because disagreement wasn't a luxury in his home. Across the court, Nano strolled in 10 minutes late, sneakers untied, a grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. He greeted everyone with a nod, not caring that no one returned it. The Balani boy was trouble, or so the rumors claimed, reckless, sharp-tongued, and far too familiar with breaking rules. His curly hair bounced with every step, and he wore his confidence like a badge. Unlike Wasi, Nano came by choice, fueled by a stubborn belief that things could change, even if no one else thought so. When coach barked out pairings for the week, Wasi's name echoed alongside Nano's. A visible ripple went through the other players, snickers and murmurs following them as they approached each other. Wasi kept his expression neutral. Nano just raised an eyebrow and smirked. "Try not to drag me down," Nano said under his breath. Wasi replied with a cold glance. "Just stay out of my way." The first practice was a disaster. They moved out of sync, misread each other's signals, and exchanged cold silences between rounds. It wasn't just miscommunication. It was mistrust carved deep into their bones. But volleyball demanded connection, and even resentment had to give way to rhythm. Midway through a match, a powerful spike from the opposing team came flying toward their side. Without thinking, Wasi leapt sideways, brushing Nano's arm as he saved the shot. The ball stayed in play. They won the point. For a split second, their eyes met, startled, uncertain. Something had clicked, however, briefly. After practice, Nano tossed a water bottle to Wasi. "You've got a decent dive for an Ashari." Wasi caught it, eyebrows raised. "And you've got a big mouth for anyone." The corners of Nano's mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but something close. Neither of them said more, but the silence between them was different now. Not cold, just unspoken. That night, Wasi sat alone under the metal roof of the barracks, the sound of volleyballs echoing in the distance. He told himself it was just sport, just strategy. But he couldn't shake the feeling that this, whatever this was, had already begun to matter more than it should. Rain slicked the court like glass, but Nano didn't slow down. He dove for the ball, missed it by inches, and landed hard on his elbow. "Close," he muttered, biting back a curse. Wasi reached down and offered a hand. Nano hesitated a beat too long before accepting it. They were winning now, barely, but something had shifted since that first accidental moment of trust. Their movements had started to align, timing smoother, reactions quicker. It wasn't just about the game anymore. There was an unspoken rhythm forming, not born of friendship yet, but something neither of them could name. The others noticed, too. Some called it luck. Others whispered more dangerous things, accusations about fraternizing, betrayal. Wasi ignored them. Nano mocked them. But the words still clung, heavy as humidity. One evening, thunder cracked across the sky as they finished a late practice. The camp cleared out quickly, leaving them alone under the canopy of gray clouds. When the rain came, it was sudden and relentless. They sprinted toward the equipment shed and ducked inside, drenched and laughing, breathless. It was a small space, the walls lined with old jerseys and cracked helmets. Nano peeled off his soaked jacket and sat on a bench, shivering slightly. Wasi stood nearby, arms crossed, watching the storm. "I used to love rain," Nano said softly, "before everything got so divided. We'd play soccer barefoot in the mud back home. Now my neighbors won't even wave." Wasi didn't respond immediately. His jaw tightened, a subtle war with words he hadn't learned how to share. "My brother used to say storms wash away lies," Nano added, glancing sideways. "What do you think they wash away?" "Nothing," Wasi said. "They just make things harder to see." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It felt like a question neither of them had the courage to ask. Nano stood and stepped closer, close enough that Wasi could feel the warmth radiating from him. There was something electric in the air, and not just the storm. Nano's hand brushed. Wasi's, just a flicker, deliberate and tentative. For a moment, Wasi didn't pull away. His breath caught. The space between them was charged, a fragile, aching possibility. But then he stepped back, eyes averted. "I can't," he whispered. "Not like this." Nano didn't say anything. His expression folded in on itself. Not anger, not even surprise. Just hurt, clean and quiet. By the time the rain slowed, they were on opposite sides of the shed. Nano didn't speak again as they walked back through the mud, side by side, yet miles apart. That night, Wasi wrote a letter. He poured into it what he couldn't say aloud. His confusion, his admiration, the impossible pull he felt toward someone he was never meant to know. He folded it carefully and tucked it between the pages of a notebook. He told himself he'd never give it to Nano. And maybe he wouldn't. But writing it made the ache feel real. And somehow, that mattered. The tournament loomed like a storm cloud, casting long shadows over every practice. Scouts were rumored to be attending, promising golden tickets to those who stood out. For once, the camp buzzed with unity. Not the kind built on trust, but ambition. Everyone wanted to be seen, everyone except Wasi. Nano noticed the shift. Wasi moved stiffly, spoke less, and avoided eye contact even during drills. His spikes lacked precision, his passes were just off. Nano tried to joke, to spark the old rhythm back, but Wasi responded with silence. "You're pulling away," Nano said one afternoon as they packed up the equipment. "If this is about that night, say it." Wasi's hands froze mid-motion. "It's not about that," he lied. "We're just here to play." Nano stared at him, hurt simmering just beneath the surface. "You really think that's still true?" That night, the hidden letter vanished from Wasi's notebook. He knew immediately what it meant. The next morning, his uncle was waiting by the court, face pale with fury. The letter, creased and stained, was clutched in his hand like a weapon. Wasi's chest tightened. "You bring disgrace to your blood," the man hissed. "This filth, with a Balani, you will deny it. You will cut ties, or I'll see to it your name is erased." Wasi didn't speak. He only nodded. Not because he agreed, but because defiance would cost more than silence. At the tournament, he played like a shadow of himself. Nano, trying to carry them both, grew frantic with each set. When Wasi missed a simple block that cost them the match, Nano snapped. "You're not even trying," he spat, breathless. "What happened to us?" "There is no us," Wasi replied, deadpan, loud enough for everyone to hear. "It was strategy. Nothing more." The words stung more than Nano expected. He looked into Wasi's eyes, searching for a crack, a signal, something real. But Wasi was unreadable. Nano walked off the court mid-game, dropping his team jersey in the sand. The silence that followed was deafening. Later, huddled near the locker rooms, Nano learned the truth. One of the junior players whispered about the letter, the confrontation, the threat. It made sense. Too much sense. But Nano wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. He watched from the shadows as Wasi sat alone on the bleachers, the sun setting behind him, casting long, lonely lines across the court. What they had built, fragile, complicated, beautiful, had been shattered. And though betrayal had names and reasons, the hurt remained the same. Nano turned away, jaw clenched. If love had once lived in that silence, now all that remained was the echo. Weeks passed. The camp ended, the players scattered, and the court was left to dust and memory. Wasi returned home a hero in name only. His uncle praised his sacrifice. His father nodded with pride. And yet every night Wasi lay awake, haunted by the choice that had stolen his peace. Nano, on the other hand, disappeared. Rumors floated. He'd left town, joined another league, maybe dropped volleyball altogether. Wasi searched online, asked quietly among mutual friends. But Nano had gone, silent like a door slammed shut with no key left behind. One evening, Wasi stood in front of the old court, the wind tugging at his shirt. He had come alone, with no real reason other than the hope that the place might still echo something of what they'd lost. The net was gone. The paint had faded. But the ghosts lingered. From behind him, footsteps. Light. Familiar. I thought, "You'd stopped playing," Wasi said without turning. "I thought you stopped feeling," Nano replied, stepping beside him. They didn't speak for a long time. The silence between them was not the same as before. It wasn't filled with tension or possibility. It was heavier, earned, bruised. "I never gave them the letter," Nano said. "I left it in your bag. Someone else must have found it." Wasi's jaw clenched. "It doesn't matter. I still said those things to you. I let fear win." Nano looked out at the broken court. "You let them win." "I thought if I let go of you, I could hold on to everything else," Wasi confessed. "But nothing feels real anymore." Nano's voice softened. "I waited for you to fight. Just once. For us." Wasi turned to him. "I'm fighting now." Nano met his eyes. This time there was no mask, no joke, no distance, just raw, quiet hurt. But also something else. A flicker. "I have a spot in the City League," Nano said. "It's small, but it's mine. We play Sundays." Wasi hesitated. "You want me to join?" "No," Nano replied. "I want you to choose. No pressure, no audience, just truth." The wind shifted. Wasi reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded page, creased, softened by time. He handed it to Nano. "You never read it," he said. Nano unfolded the letter. As his eyes moved across the page, his breath caught. When he looked back up, his expression had changed. Warmer, steadier. "It was always real," Nano whispered. Without a word, they walked onto the court. No ball, no net. Just two boys standing where it all began. There were no promises made. No kiss to seal the pain. But there was presence. There was choice. And sometimes, in the ruins of betrayal, something softer can grow. Not the fire of romance, but the quiet strength of connection rebuilt. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they stood side by side, not quite whole, not quite healed, but together. And that at last was enough.